James Blunt, welcome to Radio Nova. Great to have you here.
It's really great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Let's get into business right away and talk a little about your music. Your new album, Moon Landing, came out just recently, and the first single, Bonfire Heart, has been burning up the charts around the globe and also here in Finland. Of course, you've sold like tons and tons of records before, but how much of a relief was it for you to see that, okay, people still dig me and they dig me a lot?
Do you know, I think, strangely, I've been in this job for 10 years now, and that 10 years has flown by. And I think what I've kind of learned from it is that it can happen in one country, and in the next country you go to, and no one's heard a song or even heard of you. And so I've kind of learned to be kind of pretty chilled about it, and not worried too much about it. I mean, along the way, though, I suppose it's taken me a year to make this album, a year locked away in a studio. And of course, to be here, to you know, for people to know the song, to be able to be enjoying it, and for it to get some time, of course, there's a bit of a thrill, mainly because it means I can turn up and come and do some concerts. So I've tried not to think about it too much, but of course, it's nice to have the support from you guys. So thank you so much for that.
Well, you made Mood Landing with the producer Tom Ruthrock, who is the guy you worked also on your debut album, Back to Bedlam. Lots of artists always tend to say that at some point they like to go back to roots. Was it the same thing with you, because you wanted to work with Tom more?
Yeah, so much so with this album, you know, because things happen, and when they happen, you embrace them. And for me, you know, I was an indie artist on an indie label, and something happened with my first album. Back to Bedlam was stripped of any indie roots, and it was tracked into the mainstream by a song called You're Beautiful, and it took me on an amazing journey around the world, 3 world tours, and you react to that. So I was writing songs for these big venues, and with an audience in mind, and having done that and had all that fun, eventually you go, you know what, rather than write for other people with words that I think you might want to hear, I needed to kind of write words that I needed to say instead, open up something for myself, write more personal songs. And so Moon Landing has been a kind of retreat to where what I do best, really, write songs about very personal experiences, very real experiences. And then I went back to Tom, my producer from Back to Bedlam, and recorded it in the same way that I did with him, in that indie way that I recorded it, and in that very personal way, without the audience in mind, with a little bit of innocence again. Yeah.
So I would imagine that you think that this is your best album so far.
Well, do you know what? I just think it's different. You know, I think, you know, Back to Bedlam, with its naivety, had a lot of charm. And I think the second album of mine, All the Lost Souls, had loads of fantastic musicians from my touring band in there, and that gave it a richness. And my third, I picked up the electric guitar and I played for the stadium, and it was so much fun. And, you know, it was the dream that I'd always wanted. And I love it as a result. But this is just, its own little thing. It's been, I suppose, to find innocence again, to not imagine an audience when you know they're out there already, is a difficult thing to do. And that's why we feel that it's quite an achievement, quite a journey between Tom and me. And that's why it's called Moon Landing.
Of course, it's a well-known fact that you worked in the army for 6 years before you became a professional musician. But how has your career in army affect on your music when you look back now?
Well, you know, I think your past always impacts on your present. And for me, you know, I work with people from all different corners of my own country. And that's an eye-opening experience in itself. I worked in different countries themselves, and understood that, you know, I suppose humans, no matter what colour of our skin or what race or religion, what sex or sexuality, I think, you know, all humans really share many more things than we hear on the news. We share the same common emotions, and that's why I write songs about that. I write Bonfire Heart is about the fact that all humans, no matter who we are, we need to connect with each other. And so the lyrics are simple. People like us, we don't need that much, just someone to light the spark in our Bonfire Heart. Yeah.
But is it true that the part of your career in army was that you were protecting the Queen?
For my last year, yeah. I was in the army for 6 years, but for my last year, I was the Queen's ceremonial bodyguard in London.
Okay, so that's true.
Yeah, it is true.
Of course, this isn't your first time here in Finland, because you've been here like at least 4 or 5 times, am I right?
Yeah, very much. I've had some great concerts here, and I've got some friends here. So for me, it's a real thrill to be back. And I'm going to catch up with my friends later on.
Well, lots of artists who come from other countries say that they've kind of made a mistake to go. They've gone out with Finnish people and gone to bars and partying. Have you made that kind of mistake? Because, like you know, Finns tend to party quite hard.
I don't think that's a mistake. I think that's a good thing, and I intend to be doing exactly that.
Yeah. One thing that delights me a lot is that often in media you tend to maybe make up some things, because quite recently you mentioned that you are probably getting a Nobel Prize. How do you come up with that kind of things? Do you like to just kid with interviewers or?
Yeah, I'm not lying to you, I promise. I've told you the truth throughout. On the whole, mostly. You know, I think most of the things you read in the newspaper are made up. I mean, really, they are made up. And so anyway, so I chuck out my own little lies for when I'm in interviews and enjoy to see how they get told and spread around. I had a great one where I said I was playing the church organ at Prince William's wedding to Catherine, and I was asked so many times afterwards, hey, you know, how was it playing the organ? Well, you know, how did it sound? It sounded pretty good to me, but yeah, no, I wasn't playing the organ.
Can you make up some big fat lie right now?
No, I can't. I'm telling you the truth throughout.
Okay, we hope so. You quite recently also joined Twitter, and lots of celebrities tend to tweet some nonsense or boring stuff, but you've taken a different road, because you've answered to people who've talked shit about you in Twitter. How did you came up with that will be your way to tweet?
Well, you know, I'm not very good on social media, and I find it really difficult because it's not something I really want to do in the first place. To go on and say, you know, hey, look, this is what I had for breakfast is really boring. And anyone who wants to know what I had for breakfast is either, I don't know, they're either very, very hungry themselves or just a little strange. And so instead, looking at Twitter, often it's a place where people are abusive about people, and it's a public notice board, and, you know, and the person who you write about might walk past that notice board. And so, yeah, so if I see anything like that, of people being really venomous and horrid about me, I'm normally jump in, but I'm normally venomous and horrid about myself even more. And so, yeah, just to be able to laugh at the whole thing. And it's been, you know, I'm really enjoying it, actually. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's a good way, because social media is something you don't have to take so seriously. It's kind of sad if people like take it too seriously.
Yeah, very much. And also it's a thing where people, you know, in the shadows of their bedrooms will write things confidently. And I think when you confront them and laugh at yourself and at them at the same time, caring for both, I would hope, then you realise that, you know, we shouldn't, none of us should take ourselves that seriously.
Yeah.